We do an annual event called the CEO Summit. I did and managed the first 2 or 3 of them in the role I had at the time. It's now probably 15 years that we've been doing this, and it's what I said it was. The Microsoft Corporation invites only CEOs. We pick the company. They're invited for 2.5 days. This is done in our facility in this case, and the dinner, one of them is, of course, hosted at Bill's humble little home where his dining room is the size to support 450 of his closest friends with no problem. Now, I admit, we're leveraging this for the relationship for the obvious reasons for the long term. It's not some big product pitch event, but it's certainly connecting with people who write big checks to us. In the early going, we made some effort to market it, then we got smarter. These CEOs are not technical gurus. They don't attend without getting something running, of course, Microsoft software, because remember the world now. There's Deviant software and there's Microsoft. So they've got to leave with that experience. We build in a unique experience for the event. They go home with it. We continue to communicate with them. That has evolved to the point today where, ladies and gentlemen, we don't spend one dime on marketing it. Because the list of the CEOs that want to come is longer than the space we got. And frankly, if you're doing an event for our purpose, that's the dream time. And we respect that. And they're treated that way because of that. But a lot of hard work and use of technology, and why not some events being looked at that way? I would bet you could come up with some good ideas that are specific to Scotland that would cause that same thing to happen. Second point, increase attendance. Do you know how many people attended Davos this year? This big mystery meeting, very private. Bill had his own chalet at these events, and they march around it and wave flags, and they're unhappy with these people making all these big financial decisions that may or may not save the earth, right? This year, 430 million people attended. Why? Because they opened it up through the social networks. People were able to participate, ask questions, get responses. That's just the first version of what's going to happen here. And when you think about an event that includes physical bodies that may not be physically there, it gets really interesting in terms of the impact you can have. That's technology available today. Extend the event. I've attended both the Global Scott events that were held here in Edinburgh. They were fine events, lots of people attended. This is your community of people around the world who love the place, or expats who still want to get back and be helpful. The event's held in the conference center. At the end of it, they, at great expense I'm sure, produce a book in hardbound copy that was handed to each of us who attended with pictures so we could remember it and so on. And the event ended. This is a network of people, a community you want to tap into so local businesses can tap into them to have a leverage to take advantage of growing their business. The event ended with a book that, with technology, can continue and extend beyond. With the obvious creation of communities around social networking that's available today, collaboration software like SharePoint, other applications you can build. So that event is a piece of what you hope to be an ongoing and permanent relationship. There may be other events along the way, but one of those events doesn't end with a published book. Fourth example is a CIO summit that was a recent one, three weeks ago attended it, that you should think about in any events you do. One of the challenges with an event is to get people to be interactive. We looked at using technology more aggressively, and long story short, we have a speaker up on stage, 2.5 days, top chief executive or chief information officers from our best companies around the world, and from the first day they sat down, they had a way to interact with every speaker that spoke as they spoke. Not wait till I'm done, then ask the Q&A, as they spoke. The first speaker was talking about the trends and what CEOs expected of CIOs and so on. He'd done this deep study showing the results of it. And then what he did was on the fly have the audience give input as to what they were doing. Now, you've seen some of this stuff before, but it now goes a step beyond. Because, of course, there's a cloud we built just for this event. They're feeding this in simultaneously, and on the screen, the graph is moving as the data comes in and suggests what the new view of the world is, and then maps how that tracked with the research he'd done in the book that he had, and why would it be different over here, because the bankers that attend have a different view of the world than the aerospace. Now we're talking about a level of interaction that couldn't have happened before, on the fly, as the speaker is speaking before he or she is done. I guarantee you that creates a lot more lively interaction. At the end of the 2 days, or 2.5 days, they've had a lot more chance to interact than they would have if the event had been done without the use of that technology to enable that.